can adjust that if we need to. No.
Okay, I just want to talk about the microphone.
Okay.
Is that microphone still on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, obviously, my interpreter's going to be sitting here.
They'll turn it on.
Yep. And we've got that podium if she needs it for notes.
We'll go ahead and put that over there then, and then I'll take that off and get that into the interpreter by arms. Obviously, I don't want to have that in the way while the interpreter's sitting down here for a civics project.
Welcome. My name is Chris Lynch. Tonight we are starting with a public hearing on Liberty High School softball practice field. Brian? I declare this public hearing open.
Now is the time and place for the public hearing on the proposed plans and specifications for the Liberty High School softball practice field at Van Allen Elementary School project. The Board of Directors set the date for this public hearing on August 23, 2016. Notice of public hearing was published in the Iowa City Press Citizen on August 24, 2016. The district will receive bids on this project at 2 p.m. September 15, 2016 at the Educational Services Center located at 1725 North Dodge Street, Iowa City, Iowa. Notice to contractors was published as required by law in multiple statewide plan rooms and on the Iowa City Community School District website on August 24, 2016. Are there any questions from the board? Are there any questions from the public? Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. I declare this public hearing closed. Welcome to the Iowa City Community School District School Board meeting on September 13th. My name is Chris Lynch. I call this meeting to order. I'd like to thank those in the audience and those on TV for taking an interest in our district business. I'd like to start the meeting this evening by introducing those at the table with me tonight. To my right is Superintendent Steve Murley, then Directors Lori Rotland, Phil Hemingway, Brian Kirschling, Natasha Deloche, Paul Rosler, Chris Liebig, and Recording Secretary Kim Colvin. The public is reminded if they wish to speak to complete a speaker form found at the table in the lobby and turn it in. During community comment, persons may speak to the board about topics relevant to the district. All community comment directed at non-agenda and agenda items shall take place at the beginning of the meeting during the community comment section of the agenda. And our first item tonight is our student representatives. Do we have our representatives from City? We'll go City West Tate.
Hello, my name is Lucia Wagner, and I am the class president of City High School. I came here last year to fill in for Cy and Daniel a couple times when they couldn't make it.
Hi, I'm Lucy McGeehee. I'm the City High Vice President, and this is my first time doing this. I'm really excited.
So yeah, here we go. At City High this year, the City High population is reaching over 1,700 students, which is the largest population that City High has ever seen. There has been some concern expressed by students and parents who are concerned about the large class size, which is approximating in the mid-30s currently.
This fall, City High is presenting To Kill a Mockingbird, and rehearsals are underway. The roles are picked, and that's going to be a large event at City High.
Last Sunday night, Hillsbank held its youth salute. So I placed first for women's for youth salute, and the West High representative, Michael Mugnelli, placed first for males. And so we will be traveling to St. Louis in early October to go to town meeting on tomorrow. City High's Nova Maurice and Adam Zabner placed second for both male and female.
City High School is undertaking many service projects this year in Student Senate, one of them being the Homecoming Dress Drive. This is where girls can donate dresses and have a specific room to take them, and then we will have designated times for the girls to try on dresses if they cannot afford them. It's a really good organization. I know I have like 3 dresses I'm going to donate, and it's just a really good recycling opportunity as well. Another thing we are going to start is the food pantry surveys have been given to all the students. We're currently collecting the data on that. It's been this week that we're collecting them. Anything you'd like to add about that?
Yes, so for the food pantry, we are working with G-World. Student Senate is working with G-World to create a food pantry, and we recently administered the survey yesterday, and it's undertaking until tomorrow. And then, did you mention that?
Oh, yes, and we have 2 City High students that are seniors. Sophie Lee and Sarah Smith are giving free senior photos to those that can't afford them or just want free senior photos. So that will be an option for City High students as well.
Yep. So homecoming for us this year is going to be on October 8th. We have decided the theme is going to be Night of the Swamp, so kind of Shrek themed. Yes, the parade is going to be on October 5th, and this is student organized through Student Senate.
And lastly, City High Girls Cross Country is ranked 3rd in the state of Iowa. We have a meet this Saturday in Ames, competing against very good teams. And this Friday is also the City versus West game, the battle for the boot.
So yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So there's no predictions on the Battle of the Boot then, or we're just going to let
City-
play it on the
City
field?
Eyes.
City High.
Well, thank you. Sounds like a great start at City, and thanks for all the service projects you're doing for the community, so thank you. All right, is West High here? I'm interested to see if there's going to be a prediction. No pressure.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Mugnelli, and I'm the school board representative from West. I've been in the Iowa City schools since I was in kindergarten at Weber Elementary, and I've been involved in student government since I was in 3rd grade. Most recently, I served as the president of West High Student Senate last year, but I'm really excited to be the school board rep this year. So we're off to a great start at West High. A lot of new changes, one of the biggest being our integration of something called academic focus time between our 6th and 7th period on Tuesday and Wednesday. This is a really great time. It's very unstructured and allows students and teachers to communicate outside of their normal class setting. Students have the opportunity to work on homework, make up quizzes, ask teachers for re-instruction, and then on the other hand, teachers are allowed to bring in students who may be struggling in their classes just to get some extra help. So our first AFT time was today, and it was very well received. Also, last week we had our club fair with over 20 clubs participating. We had a lot of clubs returning, such as Best Buddies, Dance Marathon, and Student Senate. But we have several new clubs as well, such as HOSA, which is Future Health Professionals of America, and Far East Culture Club, which celebrates the cultures of Thailand, Japan, and China. Our athletics are also off to a great start. Last week, our volleyball team beat City High in the annual Battle of the Boot, or Spike, sorry, which is great. And coming to the Battle of the Boot is our next big athletic event this Friday, where West, our undefeated team, will likely beat City High. And that also coincides with our homecoming game, or homecoming dance this Saturday at the Marriott. And lastly, this is still hasn't been announced yet, so I don't know if I'm disclosing classified information, but West has 20 National Merit semifinalists this year, which is a huge honor, as only 1% of test takers of the PSAT in the state of Iowa receive this award. So that's really great. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Sounds like a great start at West. So, good luck to both teams on Friday night, by the way. Tate High.
Hi, my name is Dalen. I'm a junior at Tate High School. We are off to a great start this year. We have 125 enrolled during the day and 40 students in the Phoenix program. And we have 6 students enrolled in the Kirkland regional programs. We finished orientation, which is a big undertaking. Students take part in learning what is expected of each Tate warrior and all about the core values and expectations at Tate. Each student's individual assessments in reading and math. Each student took individual assessments in reading and math. The newest part of our day in the addition extension, where students are provided 30 minutes of additional instruction time per day to offer alternative ways of learning through hands-on activities, labs, or performances. This extension time is right after lunch. Our volleyball team has been practicing, and they have their first match at Metro in Cedar Rapids against Compass from Marion. Tate is working with the Crisis Center and planning to provide a food pantry at Tate High School opening in October. We are super excited and will keep you informed on the progress. Thank you for your service to our district, and feel free to visit our school to see how our school operates.
Thanks, Dalen. Sounds like a great start. I do want to just thank all of our student reps and just say that the board very much appreciates your participation, and we love hearing from our high schools, so thank you for coming tonight and for when you'll come in the next few months. So thank you. Next up is the ICA update. Brady?
President Lynch, Superintendent Murley, directors, I'd just, I guess, second what President Lynch just said. It's a real honor to be able to work with our high school students, and I think you see, 4 excellent representatives from our 3 high schools that we have, and I, of course, have the privilege of teaching in one of our high schools. So it has been a great start to the year. I'd also like to just say that, not a lot of districts, I that are around have the same level of collaboration that we have with our administrative teams and our teachers association. So I just want to say how much I appreciate that. You're going to hear about that later on with some of the work that we're doing when we get to the teaching and learning part of the agenda. So I just wanted to highlight that we really do feel like we are included in those in the procedures. And the last thing I guess I would say, and you heard this a little bit from the students at City High, we started off the year well, but across the district, we do have the advantage of being a growing district, which is a really nice problem to have, but it does mean we have some pressure points in terms of our buildings, our resources, our class sizes are big up and down K-12. And when we get asked about that, our message to our members and to teachers is that elections matter. And we're only September 13th, but we have a fall election at the state level where you have a Senate that has a one-vote split, effectively, from changing partisan control. And to get a little partisan, elections do matter, and I think funding is going to be important. And so we can't just wait until the legislative session to start that advocacy. I think we just have to be active as a group as we look at who our friends are who are running for those seats that are open. So, thank you.
Great, thanks, Brady. Next item on the agenda is community comment. Thank you for your interest in the Iowa City Community School District and for your willingness to share your comments. You're reminded to give your name, address, and the topic you wish to speak. During community comments, persons may speak to the board about topics relevant to the district. All community comment directed to non-agenda and agenda items shall take place now and shall be limited to 4 minutes per speaker. Initial community comment to the extent necessary will be limited to 1 hour. Remaining community comment shall take place at the end of the meeting. To the extent you are commenting on items not on our posted agenda, the board may ask follow-up questions of speakers, but is prohibited by Iowa open meeting law from responding to questions from speakers or engaging in substantive discussion regarding non-agenda items. And first up tonight is Dan Gustafson, and on deck will be Natalie Cruden.
Okay, my topic is going to be about voluntary transfer. Good evening. My name is Dan Gustafson. I live at 1126 Briar Drive, and I currently go to Southeast Junior High School. And I've been planning to go to City High School, but recently I've been told that I can't. Reassigning our neighborhood to West is not fair, and here's why. I have many friends and even more acquaintances at City High. I am well acquainted with the coaches of City High, and I know the layout there. But if I go to West, I will lose all that. I don't have any friends, I don't know any coaches, and I don't know the layout of the school. I might as well move to Germany and go to school there. My older brother is going to City High, but I would have to go to West. There would be a division inside of our family that would hurt us and could cause future quarrels and fights. When we're at sporting events, which team does my family cheer for? It would make transportation much harder. Briar doesn't even qualify for busing. Why? Because it's so close. It's less than 3 miles away. West, on the other hand, is 6.2 miles away from our street, making transports 100 times harder. How would we be able to get me to my sporting events and Arvid to his? And the only solution to this would be for me to get a car. And as much as I would like that, my parents wouldn't trust me with a car. But Briar is not in the least a low-income neighborhood. I do not come remotely close to qualifying for free or reduced lunch fees. The families here have high-paying jobs, and we would not increase West's number of free or reduced lunches, but we would help balance out City Highs. It is for your best interest to send us to City High. I am not asking you to redraw the boundary line. All I'm asking for is voluntary transfer. Not for Broadway, not for Taylor, just Briar and Pepper. If not just Briar, if not that, then just Briar. If not that, then just our family. You are the school board, are you not? You can do this. So please, give us a choice. Give us voluntary transfer.
Hey, Dan, just a quick question. Can remind me, you may have said it, what year are you right now at Southeast?
8th grade.
8th, and just your older brother is what year at City?
He's a sophomore right now.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Dan. Natalie? Next up will be Taylor Fulger. Sorry, Taylor, you're up next. You're on deck.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
I am Natalie Cruden. I live at 234 South Lowell Street in Iowa City. I'm here on behalf of my son, Harry, who is autistic. I'm here to discuss trust and retaliation. I grew up in Iowa City and I moved back here specifically to raise my family. I love the town and the schools are some of the best in the country. I am proud of the education I received here and I wanted to share this with my child. My trust in the Iowa City Community School District has been broken. The article in the Press-Citizen was encouraging, and I look forward to hearing the results of these investigations. But Ms. Van Hoosen's hearing was disturbing to me. During the meeting, a few of you spoke about the silence of her colleagues. It appeared that you interpreted their silence to mean that they agree that she should be fired. Because the DOE report specifically mentioned a culture of retaliation, my view of their silence is a bit different. I'm not sure who would have the courage to come forward in support of someone who apparently lost her job for speaking out against her higher-ups. When a person fears reprisal for their comments, they tend to keep quiet. Why do I bring this up? The parents of special needs kids are vitally connected with the discussion you are having or not having about the findings of the DOE, but you probably won't see most of us. Why? There are many reasons. Probably the biggest has to do with finding adequate childcare for our kids. However, some of us may stay home out of fear of reprisal or perceived retaliatory culture of the real or perceived retaliatory culture of the ICCSD. The IEPs we've fought for may be in jeopardy if we show up here. IEPs are incredibly important. For some kids, a well-written IEP may make the difference between living independently as an adult or not. You won't see a majority of us here not because we're indifferent, but because we are doing our best to be good parents. For me, the decision last week underlined my lack of trust in the ICCSD. You, the board of directors, are in a position to help them earn that trust back. You can set an example in open and direct communication to require the ICCSD to do the same. You can hold people accountable for doing their jobs in compliance with the law. And you can make sure the independent investigations are unbiased and thorough and make the findings public. About communication, the special ed division seems to have a hard time communicating with parents. We get most of our news through the rumor mill. For example, in mid-August, I found out about a change in policy regarding preschool paraeducators, including the room my son was assigned to, in an autism Facebook group. Why not email families of special ed students with policy changes or post those changes on the website? A lot of my trust issues are exacerbated by the total lack of communication, which can feel like a lack of respect from the school administration. When people aren't told what's going on, they start to make up their own stories, and some will always imagine the worst. Why not simply communicate with us the same way the administration does with the rest of the families in the school system? About accountability. Holding people accountable for not adhering to the law is not placing blame. It's not being mean, and it's not being vindictive. It's a violation of federal law to change IEPs without parents' knowledge or consent. It would be very easy to find out who was doing this. Their signatures should be on the IEPs. It may be the only one person from Grant Wood or one from the school district who are breaking the law. This would be an easy problem to address, and letting that person or people go would go a long way to repairing the trust that has been broken with the parents. It sounds to me like teachers feared losing their jobs if they didn't work with the administration, but certainly the Grant Wood and the school administration team members know better than to amend IEPs without parents present, and they have the power to refuse to take part in breaking the law. If the independent investigator discovers that this is systemic, then you need to find a way of addressing it openly and publicly. Hiring an assistant for Ms. Dixon may help a lot, but if the people who've been breaking the law aren't held accountable in any way, and we only have their word that they'll stop, I don't really see how that repairs or even addresses the broken trust. It certainly doesn't make me feel optimistic that things will change. When a drunk driver promises he'll never drink...
Thanks, Natalie. Thank you. Taylor?
Can you provide the remainder of your speech for us at the end of the meeting?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Taylor? And on deck will be Dan McMahon. Go ahead, Taylor. Craig, can you lower that a little bit?
Dear members of the school board, thanks for the opportunity to speak. My name is Taylor Faugier, and I'm an 8th grader at Southeast Junior High. I would like you to allow open enrollment for voluntary transfers because I've grown up a Little Hawk. I went to Hoover Elementary and now Southeast Junior High, and hopefully soon City High School. I'm in volleyball currently and very involved in after-school activities like sports and clubs. In addition, I'm very involved in musical activities like choir and band. If I have to go to West High and not City High because of the open enrollment issue, I'm going to have to go to West High every day for 5 days, each week, each month, for 4 years. It's going to be difficult for my mom to pick me up after activities since West High is so far away. I will have to ride the bus for a long time to and from school, which is approximately an hour or more going one way. The longer ride might prevent me from being involved in after-school activities. I feel very disappointed that my skills as a student athlete and community member will be wasted. City High is about 2.5 miles from my home. However, West High is almost 8 miles from my home. You wouldn't be wasting money on buses for our area because we would be driving to City High. That would be saving the district money. But if I go to West, I will have to take a bus, and that would cost the district more money. And that would be very helpful for the district to save money. Finally, I won't be able to join my friends at City High. I'll be the new kid at West. All my life, I've been told that I will be attending City High, and to have that thrown out the window means I'll have to start all over again. We won't be able to afford to move into a City High zone, and that means all my hopes and dreams have been stolen from me. I'm currently on the volleyball team at Southeast, and in fact, my volleyball team is being honored during halftime at a volleyball game at City High. However, given that I am here talking to you now shows I truly want and plan on going to City High. This shows how much it means to me to stay a Little Hawk. Please consider my request. I am speaking for those who don't know about this meeting and are being forced to go to a different school. Please support voluntary transfers to City High School. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Taylor. Dan, next up will be Roy Porter.
Dan McMahon, 2408 Biltmore Lane. I'd like to start tonight by thanking Kingsley. Thursday night at Kirkwood, they had the rollout of the new AVID program, and the turnout was incredible. You saw a community that was excited that the school board had reached out to their area in a way that was positive, encouraging, and taking their best needs into heart. Over the next few years, I hope to see this program implemented fully and provide the results and closing the achievement gap that the promise is there for. One thing, as I'm sure you know where this is going, that will not help those students is the old boundary system you guys plan on voting on later tonight. You have a couple of wonderful students from City High coming up and saying how their abilities to participate in after-school activities, their time for academic study, and just their social well-being is going to be disrupted by going to a school that is not closer to them. That's the same issue for a whole bunch of other people who don't have the ability to have mom and dad drive them there. The compromise plan of allowing students, at Kirkwood at least, to go Northwest is wonderful until you get to the whole problem where you've gone from Kirkwood, you've made some friends in middle school, and now you're pulling them out again. You're stigmatizing them because people know you're the Kirkwood kids. The Alexander kids, you're the Alexander kids. You're placing the greatest burden on those with the least resources. The vote's going to be held tonight. I'm pretty sure we know how it's going to go. But you as a board still do have responsibilities. One, if we're going to allow people to voluntarily transfer into the school district, there's no reason that shouldn't be allowed for students already in the district. All you're doing it now is saying, you with the means outside the district can come into our system, but you without the means in our district are forced to abide by our rules. Two, we need to know what the hard number is. What determines when a school has too much SES enrollment? That needs to be put out in public, and you need to let people know this is probably the next area that needs to move. You're not achieving stability by placing an artificial barrier on what determines as a good school. 3, you need to track after-school participation between the schools that are being forced to move versus those in their natural geographic area. And 4, the transportation issue needs to be addressed for before school and after school. Kids losing a chance to meet with a teacher before school or after school is unconscionable just because they have to catch one bus home. I appreciate the time you've allowed me to speak. I always say this, I may not agree with you, but I do appreciate the service you guys provide. I do look forward to coming back and speaking about things we can all be excited about, like the AVID program, and I do hope you do keep the students' interested. That's a poor way to phrase it. I know you have the students' best interests at heart. I hope there's a way we can all work together to achieve those. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan. Roseanne? Next up will be J.P. Clausen.
Royce Porter, 136 Appanoose, Iowa City. I'm here to give you a report on the Summer Fun Youth Program that we ran this summer. I came before you guys when the program first started, and I just wanted to come and tell you the end results. The program objective was to provide engaging structured summer activities for youth, boys, and girls 7th through 12th grade, utilizing community recreation area assets and facilities while collaboration with other community agencies. The core components was recreation activities, community exposure, and skill building. The dates was June 6th through August 26th. We extended it a week. At the Robert A. Lee Recreation Center, Monday through Friday from 5 to 9 p.m., for 12 weeks, 240 program hours. Participants registered was 75 registered. On a daily basis, we had between 35 and 45 kids, and that was with collaboration within the community. The completed recreation activities were sports, basketball, soccer, taekwondo, kickboxing with Mr. Omar. At the Robert A. Lee Recreation Center, we also had arts, dance, potter studio, and painting. Every Thursday, we took them over to City High where they swim. Social, we had dances. Kids were involved in hip-hop, belly dance, and line dance. Cooking classes, and a trip that ended at Fun City. At the end of the year, we took 45 kids over to Fun City in Burlington. Outdoors, we had a discovery garden with backyard abundance where the kids at the Robert A. Lee Rec Center planted, and they planted the vegetables, and they were able to pick them and take them home to family once they grow. The staff included me, the program coordinator, and 3 other counselors. We had 3 part-time supervisors. They supervised youth activities. In some cases, they led activities, and they were responsible for daily program setup. Collaboration agencies was the Johnson County Neighborhood Centers, Girls, G-World, UAY, Dream Center, Backyard Abundance, Downtown Businesses, the Iowa City Community School District, the Iowa City Police Department, and the Iowa City Public Library. One of the things we did do is on July 27th, the Iowa City Police played a basketball game with the kids. We won, of course, and we had a dinner with the police where I served spaghetti. Sorry, Chris. You wasn't there for that. I served spaghetti, and the police kind of integrated with the kids and talked with the kids. It was really well. And on July 30th, we had a soccer game with the Sudanese kids. They played the police, and the police won. Summary of the program expenditures and the cost. The staff was $14,000 just for those 12 weeks. The supplies, foods, activities, etc. came to $2,160, which was a total of $16,591. The next steps is we will be continuing the program. Thank you. And here are some of our pictures. We just wanted y'all to see. Y'all can't see. Yes. If you notice, we have fresh fruit and vegetables grown, cucumbers, tomatoes, lettuce, squash.
Royce, did the I thought I heard that the police recognized a reduction in youth-related calls during this period as opposed to a normal summer?
There was 0 police call this summer at the rec center. No police calls, not one. And it was all about building relationships. And we had a lot of kids who got to know each other from different schools, all schools, so it was awesome.
Great.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Roseanne. JP? JP's up next, and on deck will be Naomi Gustafson.
I've been wearing a hat all summer, so I'm going to do this a lot. And I'm going to wear 3 different hats in 4 minutes. First, as the Kirkwood PTO co-president. Second, as a candidate who lost to Paul this summer. And third, as a Democratic activist. First, as Kirkwood co-PTO president, I have to echo Dan McMahon and really thank Kingsley Botchaway for... I've been to a lot of back-to-school nights. I had a son graduate from City. I have a daughter at Tate. This was the best, most well-attended, most energetic back-to-school night. There had to be 300 people in that gym. I mean, it was packed. It was an amazing, my amazing first kind of introduction to the broad Kirkwood family. I was very, very excited. We are excited about AVID, and I'll tell you, as a former special education teacher, the reason I'm really excited about AVID is because it teaches kids skills that I had a lot of kids at West High who just never got those skills. And now it's starting with kids in kindergarten with a culture that is going to teach them skills and get them in that mindset to be a scholar. I'm anticipating, without reading a lot of research, a lot of success with this. You know, you're just really giving kids tools that they need to succeed. That's my positive. Now my criticism as the candidate. And again, echoing Dan McMahon, you know, with the boundary decision, I think we know how it's going to go. I just want to keep it out here that the impact of this decision on the neighborhoods is very much that this is being done to us. Not with us, not for us, but to us. And when people get up here and speak up, we often are told, whether it's on Facebook or in the community, yeah, you don't really represent those families. You're not really speaking for those people. And it's really insulting to hear that over and over again. It's like, we're going to do this. We know we're right. And your input really isn't valued. So it's really 2 different things, right? With AVID, it's like, here we go. The buy-in is tremendous. The staff, the community, everybody's on board. Boundary decision, I have personally, and maybe that's out there, I'm not saying, I don't speak for everybody in the neighborhood. I haven't heard a lot of people from Alexander or Kirkwood neighborhood say, this is a great idea. We want this. This is best for our kids. I'm sure those people are out there. Overwhelmingly, that's not what I've heard. Third, Brady brought this up, and I'm going to hit it even harder. If you guys, everybody in this room, really cares about state funding, you have 2 really close opportunities to make a difference. Chris Brace is the first Democrat, I think, ever elected to the Senate from Muscatine. That is not far. That is very much a seat that's in jeopardy, to lose that Democratic majority in the Senate. Scott Peterson is running in Mount Vernon, and it's probably more of a long shot for him to win up there, but we've got a Democrat running up there, and it doesn't always happen. Those very close. If you can't get out this weekend as a national day of action, whatever you think about national politics, you know if Republicans take the Senate, hands are going to be tied. It's just the reality. Whatever you think about their other politics, if Republicans take the Senate, and if they keep the House, we've got 2 more years. You know what state funding is going to look like. You know what it's going to look like. So if you can't get down to Muscatine and knock, you know, a lot of Democrats from Johnson County are going down on the 17th to knock doors. If you can't do that, or if you can't get up to Mount Vernon to help Scott, money helps. Money really helps. So think about it. If you really care about state funding, please put either your money or your shoe leather where your passions are and help the Democrats keep the Senate, at least, if not take the House. Thank you very much for your service.
Thanks, JP. Naomi? Next up will be Eric Johnson. Go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you for your attention. My name is Naomi Gustafson, and I live on 1126 Briar Drive. And I want to thank you for the work you do here and acknowledge that you have to make very difficult decisions. And you've been wrestling with the issue of school boundary changes for a long time. And I'm just here today to ask you, each of you, to support voluntary transfer, and here's why. My sons, Arvid and Daniel you heard from earlier, are currently established students at City High and Southeast Junior High, respectively. Our neighborhood is being affected by the boundary changes for the secondary schools, and we are being reassigned to West. By the time this goes into effect, my oldest son will be a junior at City High School. We're hopeful that the board will honor the precedent of allowing juniors and seniors the choice to finish high school in the same school where they started. Arvid's younger brother, Daniel, will be a freshman next year. And the only logical choice for our family would be for him to attend the same high school as his older brother. We live too close to City High to qualify for bus service, and Arvid drives himself to and from City High each day. It only makes sense for Daniel to ride with his older brother next year and attend City High with him. Our boys are highly involved in band and athletics at their schools. Between the two of them, they've been members of Little Hawk marching band, concert band, jazz band, cross-country, basketball, football, wrestling, and track. They have made bonds with teammates and forged relationships with music directors and athletic coaches that they've been expecting to continue throughout their high school career. The teachers at Southeast Junior High that we met as Arvid's teachers are the same ones that we have the privilege of working with as Daniel's teachers. Uprooting our boys and moving them to West tears at those ties and discards the network of support that we've worked very hard to establish. Letting Arvid remain at City High is a step in the right direction, but sending Daniel to West divides our family and places unreasonable pressures on us. We do not wish to have divided loyalties to separate high schools, separate schedules, separate events. We want our boys to attend City High School together. In fact, sending our family to West would hurt the agenda of balancing the number of free and reduced lunches. We don't qualify for free and reduced lunch, and we'd hurt those numbers if we moved to West. The solution is simple: support voluntary transfers. Change is inevitable, and it's hard for everyone. But you have an opportunity to help us through a difficult time by giving our kids a choice. Be flexible with us and allow us a time of transition. For our children and others like them in our neighborhood who have their sights set on City High School, support their choice, especially when we have the means to transport ourselves and our presence at City High balances the demographics that you're concerned about. Consider or think about it from our point of view. We would have competing brothers at two different schools with different teachers, coaches, programs, schedules, loyalties, and buildings. Our desire is to remain Little Hawks under the continued guidance and support of City High staff, teachers, and coaches. Please support voluntary transfers to City High in support of family unity and our children's need for stability. You have a choice. Hear our petition to stay at the schools where we are established. Support voluntary transfer. Thank you.
Thanks, Naomi. Eric? Up next will be Brenda Fogger.
Thank you. Eric Johnson, 1630 Ridge Street, Iowa City, Iowa. I have two topics here. I'll try to not be too long-winded. I think that most all of you know where I stand on the secondary boundaries. I'd like the board to return to the secondary boundaries passed in May 2015. While these boundaries may need to be tweaked in the future, I think they set a good, strong foundation for district stability by discouraging long-term clustering and isolation by race and class. While I do see in the changes made this year some sincere desire to address transportation problems, those changes actually do very little to accomplish that. Kirkwood and Alexander are both distant enough from their closest high school feeder that many families will be dependent on busing regardless of which they attend. And in fact, these boundaries guarantee that all students in those two zones would be guaranteed bus service, to which they might lack if they were sent to a closer but still distant feeder. Reducing someone's bus ride by a couple of miles offers these folks precious little benefit in trade for a statistical likelihood of better educational success, a more diverse educational experience for them and other students, and the long-term stability of all three of the comprehensive high schools in the district. This isn't to say that transportation problems in the district aren't real, particularly on the junior high level, where the poor location and number of our junior highs means that we will continue to be faced with no truly satisfactory choices when weighing distance and demographic balance. The arrangement made for Kirkwood students in the May 10th, 2015 boundary seems to me like a good approach to start with. Here it might help to consider a similar arrangement for Alexander and for another school that sits on the city Liberty border, depending on how capacity and demographic concerns weigh out there. In general, I hope the board will focus on effective ways to help students with undependable transportation get to school. Effective ways is what I'd like to emphasize there. Switching topics, I'd like to say thank you to Superintendent Murley and the administration for the early outs over the last couple of weeks. When I and other Twain parents and parents from other schools campaigned for air conditioning a few years ago, one thing that and this was part of what ended up generating, I think, some of the enthusiasm in the community to help pass the facilities master plan. One thing that we asked for was that the central administration be responsive to temperatures in the buildings. The decisions made the last couple of weeks clearly reflected internal conditions. While some complained on social media that it was only 80 degrees outside, it was, by 9 a.m., already 90 degrees on the third floor of Mann, for instance. It's too rare that the administration receives due credit for instituting policies that directly respond to students, teachers, and building administrators. And that's what they did here, and I want to thank them. That's all.
Thanks, Eric.
And thanks for your service.
Brenda?
Okay. Hello to all of you. Thank you for allowing this PTA forum. My name is Brenda Falger. My daughter is Taylor. She recently came and expressed her feelings for the petition for the voluntary transfer to Iowa City High School. She is now in the 8th grade at Southeast Junior High School. I want to ask all of you, board members, to please support voluntary transfer. We recognize the underlying motivation for the new school boundaries, and maybe you do strongly believe that it would be a benefit to the students with socioeconomic needs. However, you must recognize that this is not a one-size-fits-all. You must recognize numerous and profound impacts, not only on some families like us, but especially on our children who will be caught in this situation. My point here is that the hardships. My daughter grew up at Hoover Elementary and is currently at Southeast Junior High School. And my daughter has become accustomed to the red and white pride, culture, and spirit of City High. And that's what she was looking forward to. Now, to change that, she's developed relationships and rapport with her peers, her teachers, the staff at the school. And they feel that strong connection. To have a transfer would change that. Also, my parent involvement with volleyball, the activities that she's involved in, that's near my home, and the school is near, and it's so much easier to be involved. And she does so well. and she's involved with the activities, and she's confident with herself in these activities. The new redistricting of the school boundaries that will ship my daughter to West High School this fall by busing will disrupt the sense of community that my daughter has spent many years building with peers, teachers, and staff on different levels. This would lead my daughter to feel alienated in the new school environment. That could lead to the loss of motivation and feeling less engaged in that new school. These typically attribute to a poor performance in school. We don't have the same schedule. The same bus schedule would not be given to me. How would I be able to know what is going on, and how, and the transportation and the financing and the budgeting with that? And that would change my involvement and how she can be involved in her school activities as well. We're going to go ahead and move on. My daughter should be able to go to City High School, and you as board members, I look forward and I hope that you can take this involvement seriously to the transfer and accommodate that for her high school. Thank you for her time, for your time.
Thanks, Brenda.
And I will send you an email with the rest of my presentation that I had prepared for you.
Perfect. Thanks, Brenda. All right, next item on the agenda tonight is the consent agenda.
I'd like to pull the personnel action because I need to abstain.
Sorry, which one was that, Lori?
I need to pull the personnel action because I need to abstain.
Oh, okay.
And could we pull item 19?
Roof access ladders. I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda absent the items that were pulled by Directors Rotland and Director Hemingway.
6 and 19. Is there a second?
Second.
Who reviewed the bills? Phil, you did?
Yes.
Phil and Natasha?
Yeah, I went through them. There's questions that arose were answered, and other concerns, like I say, at a further date, we can discuss those in detail.
All right. Kim, we're ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thanks, Kim. Next item on the agenda is the attendance area development. And just as background, really agenda items 1 to 15 are all the same topic. Steve added these to the agenda just so we had one-stop shop of all the information reviewed in 2016, so that's why that's there. Just as a reminder, in June, the board agreed to stop work on secondary boundaries until after the election. That was brought up by a couple of people in committee comment. Of course, the rationale was the board was pretty split 3-3, and Lori, Phil, and Chris Liebig have been very clear and on the record that they favor geographic boundaries. Brian, myself, and Latasha have been very much in favor of equitable boundaries. And effectively, the election would define direction on secondary boundaries. So, also in May, the board, we tried to agree to avoid having some of the same repetitive conversations. So we can decide if we continue that tonight, but we have tried to not have the same conversation over and over again. And with that, I think, we're all on the record except for Paul for sure, but we can perhaps get Paul on the record or start the conversation. I think we should get a motion on the table sooner than later that we can discuss, but.
And one point of clarification there, I don't know that I would say that the positions that some of us took were not equitable.
No doubt. Yep. And again, I think a couple of people said we all have the best interest of our students.
I understand where you're going, but I think it's fair to characterize that both sides felt they were doing what was in the best interest of the students.
Absolutely. And, we've had vigorous debate, and there's pros and cons. Paul, do you want to get in the record?
Yep. I would like to actually make a motion. I move that we approve the proposed secondary feeder stream that was put in our packet.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion? Do you want to start by getting on the record?
Yeah. Well, hopefully, like Chris said, most of you know that when I ran for school board, I supported the plan that was in place in May 2015. The proposed secondary feeder system is very similar to that plan. It offers the option for Kirkwood students to attend Northwest Junior High or North Central Junior High and then move on to Liberty. In 2016, you guys also added the option for Alexander students to choose Southeast and then go to West High, which is new from the 2015 plan. I am definitely in favor of diverse schools in our district. I think that this plan is the best plan for that. I think our schools should reflect the real world. I don't think we should have schools that all the students there aren't supported. I do have some concerns with overcrowding, some issues that I think that we'll be able to solve through the facility master plan, possibly using the transitional schoolhouses for a couple of those years that might be tight for some of those schools or overcrowded. I think that we're addressing transportation. We've asked the administration to look into activity buses. And I think those concerns that were raised, we're working towards those already.
And I just add that voluntary transfer, again, is on the work session agenda tonight. Further discussion?
Well, I would like to say a few things, and try not to be too redundant with what we've already talked about, but a lot of what we talk about ends up happening at work sessions, and people at home don't see it. So if I could just summarize a few things. I think we all know which way the vote's going to go tonight, and we did have an election this summer that, the issue played a big role. I'm happy to let the democratic process take its course and decide this issue, and I agree we just got to get it decided and not look back. At some point, we got to, commit to it. Doesn't mean I have to agree with it, though. Once upon a time, I was elected too. When I ran, I said we should pay special attention to the needs of disadvantaged students and their families. In my view, those families are the best judges of what those needs are. We should seek out their advice and bring it to bear on district policy. I don't think we've done that on this issue. I don't have any confidence that the kids in Kirkwood and the Alexander areas will be better off as a result of this decision. I also think the board has its head in the sand about the capacity problems at Liberty that it's going to create with this decision. I think it's only a matter of time before someone starts to suggest that we got to move Van Allen out of there back to West, which is going to entail even more busing costs at the expense of class size. I'm not a person who thinks there are no benefits from creating socioeconomically diverse environments in our schools, and we can do that without creating hardships for people. The strongest evidence for those benefits, though, is at the elementary level, but I don't doubt that there are benefits to some degree at the secondary level, too. But to me, it's a bad sign when many, not all, but many, of the people arguing that we need to diversify our high schools, including some of the people sitting up here, happen to live in elementary attendance areas that are very white, largely well off, very low FRL, but don't seem to think we need to do anything at all about that, even though we have much, much larger socioeconomic disparities between our elementary schools than we do between our high schools. Many of those people did not object at all or even express support this past May when this board adopted elementary attendance areas that made some of those disparities even worse. There are things that we can do to create more socioeconomic balance in our elementary schools, things that wouldn't even require more busing, wouldn't increase, or wouldn't as much at least, increase the burden on poor families that we'd want to see, and which would probably even save the district money over time and help prevent outlier class sizes. For example, the paired schools concept, which could help lower the FRL concentrations we now have at schools like Twain and Mann. There are also boundary alterations we could think about making that might even out FRLs without much disruption. For example, keeping the Breckenridge Trailer Court at Lemmy where they've been for years, instead of redistricting them to Hoover East, and then maybe moving that part of Lemmy that's east of Scott Boulevard over to Hoover to cancel it out. Many of these relatively straightforward opportunities for elementary balance are on the east side of Iowa City, which in the election most strongly supported the candidate who argued for socioeconomic balance at the secondary level. So all I'm thinking is that if the board goes ahead with a plan to bus a lot of kids around to create balance at the secondary level, but shows no interest or urgency about the less burdensome, less costly ways of generating some balance at the elementary level, where it probably matters more, people will have every reason to think that this vote isn't about diversity or equity, that it's about send those kids someplace else, someplace other than the school where my kids go. So I think we should put those issues on the agenda now and start thinking about them, and not say, oh, well, you know, we can't do that because there's a bond coming. Well, we did this other thing when the bond was coming. So that should bother us if we're going to have a double standard.
I think it's a bit disingenuous to say that we haven't addressed elementary issues. We just took two very large disparate schools that are right next to each other and significantly leveled the ELL, special education, and socioeconomic status between the two of them. We made a huge change in May with two schools right next to each other. And if you forgot, that's Lincoln and Mann. You were part of that
we kind
process.
of traded Lincoln off for Mann. Now Lincoln's going to have the higher number and Mann's not, but I'm not really sure we balanced them.
And they're both closer to the mean.
Not
Quite
by
a bit.
much. They're still pretty
Quite
far
a
apart.
bit closer. Are you
They're
kidding
still
me?
very far apart from each other. But we have opportunities to balance at Shimming,
I'm just
to
not going
balance
to let
at
you make
Lemmy.
the assertions up
Let's
here, Chris.
do it
at the
then.
I'm not going to let you make assertions that we don't care about that.
Oh, I don't think I said that. I said we have opportunities that we can pursue that are easier than what we're doing to the people out there. Let's pursue them and let's be consistent. That's all I'm saying.
I'd just like to make a comment that I'm not sure exactly who all you were referring to in some of your comments, but I was very open when I ran my campaign that I am totally in favor of trying to balance the elementary schools. In fact, I think I was the only one that came up to that mic when you originally opened Alexander. You weren't on the board at the time, but I asked to keep Breckenridge at Lemmy, which is my kid's school,
Great,
because
that's what we do.
and I have also asked since then for Breckenridge to stay at Lemmy when Hoover East opens. So hopefully you weren't directing those comments towards me, because I have advocated for schools that are diverse from elementary to high school. At this point in time, though, we have to make a decision on the high school because it's opening next year. We're starting to work on the elementary schools. At our board retreat, we decided that we were going to look at alternative solutions, the sister school idea, year-long. I mean, we talked about that, and that's on our work agenda. You know, we are going to address that. I think the elementary level is going to take a longer time, and we need to make the decision on the high school and move forward. This community, I heard it. They want to move forward. They want a decision. They want to know where they're going. They want to move forward.
I think it's great if we can do those things. Some of them I don't think would take a long time, and I don't think they need to be put off.
Well,
But I
again-
agree with you about Breckenridge.
I think I'm well on the record for most of the stuff, but I will, as a reminder, just say, in 2014, the community clearly told us two things: link changes to the facilities master plan and have a master plan. And so that's what we've done. I think we've made changes where we could as the facilities master plan happened. I see lots of opportunity going forward for elementary balance as we execute the master plan. And I will support that as that happens. But it was very, very clear across all aspects of the district to link at the facilities master plan and to have a master plan. So I look forward to those opportunities coming forward. Further discussion?
I have a few points I'd like to make. I'm just going to say that there's comments that I can make on the comments that have already been made, but I'm going to choose not to do that tonight. I'm going to choose to just stick with 3 points. First of all, we have projections that tell us that with the addition of Kirkwood to North Central, it's going to be over capacity next year, the first year that boundary goes into effect, and Liberty's going to be over capacity the first year it has 4 full grades. I find it disappointing that the board would purposely choose a boundary plan that knowingly places these schools over capacity long before their bond-dependent additions are to occur. Seeing the writing on the wall that Kirkwood will be added to Liberty in early August, I asked administration for numbers for alternate scenarios that would remove other students from the North Central Liberty feeder pattern to avoid intentional overcrowding. Despite asking for these numbers 5 weeks ago, I have still not received them. Since there's been no cooperation thus far in identifying alternatives to overcrowding these schools, I hope that the community and this board will support making changes to the FMP that will place top priority on addressing this planned overcrowding sooner rather than later. Second, in the past year, we have, as a board, made multiple decisions to cut our district busing costs, promising our district parents that class sizes would be smaller as a result. Following that logic, if this proposal on the table passes, there will be an increase in busing, which will mean an increase in class sizes. Next year, when the parents complain about how big class sizes are, I'm glad I will be able to say that I did not support this policy that purposely increases busing expenses and takes money away from the classroom. My last point is that I'm immensely saddened, I think you all know that, by the proposal that's on the table, and that it places a disproportionate burden on the children living in poverty, on some children living in poverty. I can only hope that the assurances that have been given that the district will provide whatever is needed to help these children have the same opportunities at schools much further from their homes are sincere. I expect that the board members that support this proposal will lead the way in holding administration accountable for monitoring each individual child that will now be on a bus because of this decision, to make sure each child is not adversely impacted by the long bus rides that they will now endure. If and when problems are identified, I hope that those problems will get as much attention from our board, our administration, our budget, and our community as this secondary decision has gotten.
All right, further discussion?
Well, yeah, I would just, I'll be brief because Director Liebig and Director Lotland said things a lot more eloquently than I can. I think it's important for us to look at that May 10 vote that it did cost us a board member, and a board member who brought a lot of abilities and district knowledge and history that is still lacking. I felt that our decision was listening to the community and parts of our community that doesn't get listened to very much. And I'm concerned the burdens we're putting on families and students that have burdens and challenges already isn't in their best interest and is counterproductive. And we are trying to solve a problem we didn't create with machines and diesel fuel, and it's very inefficient, and it's a moving target, as you know, instanced by the change with Rose Oaks. This is going to be something we're going to be chasing our tail on for years. And I feel that all of our schools in our district provide excellent opportunities for all of our students, and that a boundary policy of proximity or geography is fair. And when we look at one group of people and we say, okay, in your best interest, we're going to send you further away, and to another, we're going to say, yeah, you can stay put. And we don't do it evenly. I think it's not in the best interest of all the people in our community.
Further discussion?
Can I just clarify? I've been through so many versions. So this motion that's on the table, Southeast, kids in Alexandria would have the right to choose Southeast, but they wouldn't receive transportation. Is that right?
As proposed, yep.
And that wouldn't be subject to available capacity. That would just be, you can do it just like it is at Kirkwood.
my understanding, unless we change something
Okay.
through.
I just wanted to make sure
I
I
mean, the
can-
voluntary transfer discussion is to be had, but that was the intent.
Yeah.
Further discussion?
I would just, I've said it before, and I've said it before, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Part of the board packet tonight, in fact, if you go to the May 24th, 2016 meeting, one of the attachments goes all the way back to the, I find this intriguing, the Superintendent's High School Study Committee report from May 30th, 2012. That is almost 53 months ago. It's 52 months ago, I suppose. Or anyhow, suggestions for moving forward, item 5 in that report. Making boundary decisions associated with high school facilities using the board's boundary criteria. At that time, for example, honor the current mandate to balance percentages of students who qualify for free or reduced price lunches, which is one measure of poverty at all secondary schools. Since then, we've had changes in board policy. We've had changes in 2 boards because that statement was written before even Director Lynch and I were on the board. And what we've chosen as a board to look at is what maximizes student achievement by limiting barriers in the classroom. Those barriers, as defined by with the Iowa Department of Education, are socioeconomic status, English language learner status, and special education status. We have made a data-driven decision to focus on the identified barriers to learning to maximizing student performance. Now, in 2014, May of 2014, we got right up to the precipice as a board, and Director Lynch and I had been on, I think, about 9 months at that point. And there were some pretty chaotic looking maps where, yes, busing would have occurred all over the place. But the decision made was to step back from that decision and to go back to the community, which we did all throughout the summer of 2014. We had multiple community engagements, 4 of them to be exact, throughout the summer. We took that information, which is included in the board packet, and summarized it to say, here's what we're going to focus on as we embark upon a redo, a reset on the boundary process, knowing full well that part of that input was tie it to the facility master plan. Don't do crazy stuff until it needs to be done, because that just makes people upset. So lo and behold, one of the first big things is Liberty High, groundbreaking, under construction, going to open. So secondary boundaries got tackled before elementary because of that. We utilized the board-identified compass, we'll say, for maximizing student achievement, and continued to keep administrators, teachers, and community members as part of the process for an entire year, from May 2014 to May 2015. We hammered out with our previous board, through the board discussion and work sessions, a way to build consensus, to work together as a group of 7 different opinions to get to 6 votes, which was very difficult. On a 6-to-1 vote, we approved the May 2015 board decision about our attendance zones for when Liberty High opens next year. This last May, that changed on a 4-to-3 vote. And yes, Director Hemingway, you are correct. We lost a valued member of the board just a couple days later. I believe that this summer's election to fill the vacant board seat is and was a referendum on what the community as a whole supports. I will be voting tonight the way I voted in May of 2015 to support boundaries focused on student achievement using data-driven decision-making, to think about the district as a whole, and to make sure that all of our students get the supports they need to both get to school and to be involved in activities. Dr. Rotland, that going forward, I hope that we can continue to be focused on that. That's all I have to say.
Go ahead.
Might as well, everybody else. There's a lot of moving pieces. It's not this is a very complex issue. I don't think regardless of where people may stand on this vote, I think we all realize it's complicated. There's no perfect solution to anything that we're coming up with. Whether that's doing this change of boundary and having voluntary transfer and et cetera, the different things we could do. So I've asked some questions, and I already let the administration know that I was going to ask these questions. And so I asked about, is voluntary transfer, that's something we're going to talk about later. So hang around, see where we end up with that, because it's out there, and that might be an option which could assist with some of the overcrowding that can happen out in North Liberty, especially if we have a nice number of people from certain areas that don't want to go to Liberty. That could easily solve that. The other thing was, we have a school district right next door at Clear Creek that has activity buses. And I have people who I work with and their children use those activity buses, and it is powerful. The amazing thing that their kids can stay after it, whether it's working on school or whatever, and they can participate, and they're able to hop on that bus that has designated stops, and those kids are able to get home. And actually, for some of them that were concerned about their kids being home before them, it actually has worked out really wonderful for them, because they're kind of meeting them at the same time, because they're at school in a safe location. So I'm hoping, and at least from my understanding from administration, activity buses is a real possibility, which would also include our low-income areas like Pheasant Ridge, going over to Northwest, et cetera. The other question that I asked was, could administration come up with a 3 to 4 plan, like a flow chart, to show students the various schools and scenarios? And they absolutely said that they could do that. So the thing is there's options out there. I absolutely agree that we need to work on if we're going to talk about balance at secondary, we absolutely need to talk about balance at elementary. That's crazy. Why would we talk about one without the other? But we do need to make a decision. We got to put the kids somewhere. The kids have to go somewhere. We spent, I don't know how many millions of dollars building Liberty. Somebody got to go to that school. Someone has to go into that school. I don't know who it is, but somebody's got to go into that school. So, but we will have lots of seats available after that school opens, which will allow us the flexibility within our district to be able to get ourselves adjusted. Change is hard and it's painful, and most people reject it. But if we don't take some step, I don't want to go to sleep saying that I was afraid to take a chance on a better outcome and more access for children and more opportunities for them. I don't want to go to sleep thinking that somewhere in my mind I thought that I knew so much better than things that are way beyond my control, and so much more information that's been provided to us of how that can benefit our kids. The other thing is, as a person who actually works in our school buildings, I know kids who live all the way by the mall who go all the way to City High every day on the school bus. Every day. Not on the school bus, sorry, the city bus. So when it came to about where these kids wanted to be, they got to where they wanted to be. Is it legal, illegal? I ain't worried about that. They going to school and they doing well. So my thing is, people will go where it is that they want to go to get the best education they can for their children. And if you're from a big city, 6 miles is nothing. Try catching a city bus at 5 a.m. to go across town because you want your kid to go to a school that's going to provide them every opportunity that is necessary. So where I stand is where I have stood. I have to stand on the side of history, as well as knowledge, research, as well as what the community is asking from us. Is it the entire community? No. I don't know any vote we've made that everybody was happy about it. But that's where my conscience is.
Further discussion?
Just, I guess, a little bit following up on that, but also, we received an email today from Dave Conrads, who's chimed in before. I don't think he'd mind me naming him. And, in the past, it's probably, I think I know where it's going, but I feel like I at least ought to raise the possibility of, what we're doing at the junior high with these two neighborhoods, we could do at the high school level, and we could say parent choice, student choice, whatever. Choose one or the other, whichever you think is going to be the best educational experience for you. Again, I can tell where it's going, and probably that's not going to win, but if we were not to do this particular motion, that's a motion we could consider.
Further discussion? Kim, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with Directors Deloach, Kirschling, Lynch, and Ressler voting yea, and Directors Liebig, Hemingway, and Rotland voting nay.
Steve, is there anything else you need in this topic?
I'd like to make another motion. I'd like to make a motion that we allow and guarantee voluntary transfer for Alexander students to go to City and Kirkwood students to go to West.
Second.
Will you just restate that? Sorry, I didn't.
I would like to do as we have done with the junior highs and say that those students would be guaranteed voluntary transfer to the junior highs that they would like to attend. I'd like to do the same for the high schools.
So that would be without transportation? Because it's a
Without
voluntary
transportation,
transfer.
yes. Without district-provided transportation. But it would not be
I
dependent
second
on
that.
capacity.
I'll second that motion.
My question is, isn't that jumping ahead of our work session?
No, we had a motion that was very similar, it only referred to city. It was in our last board meeting when we discussed this, so I'm going to go ahead and put it out there, and if it's not supported, it's not supported, but I feel like in good conscience this is what I need to do.
I think that's a tricky thing to say because I don't think that, well, I can't, one thing I'm gonna do is not speak for anybody else. That's one thing I'm gonna do. And I would appreciate if y'all, with the we's, I don't speak French. So please stop with the we's because you don't know my vote. I haven't talked to anybody outside of this. So I'm gonna put that out there for the community to know. I'm not having backward side conversations. I ain't kicking it. I ain't going out for drinks and discussing my vote with nobody because I need that to be on the record. So, okay, let me put that out there. So I am in support of voluntary transfer. In this moment, I would like to have more conversation about it before I vote yay or nay on it. So it's not that I'm not in support of that. I just would like us to, we already have it planned out. I have some thoughts that I want to process with all of you all as teammates at our work session, which is where I thought we had the opportunity to do that. So so when I vote no, just want y'all to know, and Alexander Kirkwood, I ain't against y'all volunteering transfer. I just would like to talk with my other board members more about that. So I'm just putting that out there.
Can I just state a technical concern? My only concern is this on the agenda?
Yeah, and that's fine. It's just that we made this decision at the board table for the junior highs. And so I'm just simply putting it out there as a guarantee. When we talk about it at the work session, it would not be a guarantee. That kind of decision gets made at the board table. And that's fine if people choose to vote no because they'd like to discuss it. I want to put the motion on the table, so that's why I'm doing it.
But do you understand my point? Open meetings.
Oh, absolutely.
Open meetings wise, we've separated some of
Absolutely.
that, so, okay. Craig, any concerns with the motion? We're posted to talk attendance zones. It's, voluntary transfer kind of is very involved in that. I'm just looking for fresh eyes. Any concerns on a voluntary transfer motion under attendance zones? Yeah, okay. Just want to check. I'm good. Further discussion?
I'm just going to say that I am very interested in discussing voluntary transfer at our work session tonight. I think in accordance with protocol, usually we dig, for people who aren't necessarily familiar, we usually dig deeper in work sessions and then bring something to the board table before voting on it. So I would be very much in favor of discussing voluntary transfer. I'm going to be voting no on this motion right now, but not necessarily in the future once we've had a chance to hammer things out.
Yeah, I'm already on the record. I want to open up voluntary transfer. Let's let it go and let the free market figure itself out. But I just think we probably should talk in work session.
Yeah, and that's just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody
No
can make their own choice on that. It's just this is no different from the motions that were made in May. It's
sounds
the
good.
exact same type of motion.
Okay.
So,
further discussion?
I'll just add that I think that I've expressed my interest in discussing voluntary transfers at the work session, and that was the plan that I came in with. The people that emailed me from the community. I responded in the same manner that that would be a discussion we would dive into at the work session. So I will be voting no for this as well for that reason.
I just want to be clear that in May I felt that the procedure we followed was very unorthodox as well at that time. I feel it's very unorthodox right now. So.
There's a motion and a second. We had discussion. Further discussion? Kim?
Can I just clarify that I have the motion correct? A motion to allow and guarantee volunteer transfers to high schools without district-provided transportation?
Yeah, no, just Alexander to West or Alexander to City and Kirkwood to West, not across the district.
Okay. Ready?
Kim, ready to vote? Yep.
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion fails with directors Liebig, Hemingway, and Rotland voting yea, directors Kirschling, Lynch, and Ressler voting nay, and Director Deloach abstaining.
So back to Steve. Is there anything you need from us this topic?
No, I think based on the attachments that are connected to the agenda item, I think that we have enough information to move forward.
All right, moving forward. Next item on the agenda is transportation appeals. And there's a couple of appeals, just a few reminders for the public. We took action on discretionary busing in January, and we reviewed initial appeals in February. After those appeals, we asked administration to do a couple things. We did these jointly. We asked administration to simplify the appeal process, which was done, which was very helpful. And then we also simplified some of the entrance questions people had at the time in terms of what is the entrance to the school, and that was of great help and actually helped some people qualify for busing. In that change, only people received busing, nobody lost busing because of any change there. We heard final appeals in April and declined them. We did have one appeal that went through the Greenwood AEA and all the way to the Department of Ed, and it was eventually decided in our favor, which we expected. There's a long history in terms of the law and practice on this from a legal aspect. All right, so with that, there's 2 appeals in the packet. We have 3 options. One is to take no action, in which case it's effectively denied based on the administrative decision. Second would be to approve the requested transportation, and the third option would be to deny the request, and that's effectively what we've done with all the other appeals this year.
In the interest of applying the same metric to all of our transportation bills we've heard, I'm going to move to deny the request for transportation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Again, just picking up what I just said, we've applied the same metric to every transportation appeal. The 2 cases that are here in the packet are essentially no different than what we've heard elsewhere. The one that appealed to the AEA, as you stated, and then on to the Department of Ed, was upheld in our favor. We have options available with regard to our pay-to-ride system, which has been greatly overhauled over the last 6 months with the help of Craig and Esme. If you're 3 miles or if you're over 3 miles, you get busing at the high school level. If you're over 2 miles, you get busing at the K through 8 level. So if you're not there, you're not there.
No, I agree.
Go ahead.
It's been a very standard process. That's all I was going to say.
I mean, I'm probably going to vote yes for those same reasons. The only thing I had a little exchange earlier with the administration. We get an awful lot of these appeals where people say, your system says 2.9, but when I look on map Google Maps, or I drive it myself, it's 3.0. And of course, Google Maps and driving it yourself are not perfect systems. But I wish we could just get some reassurance that the system that we are using to measure these numbers has some kind of independent certification, which I assume it probably does. I don't think you could market such a thing without that. You buy a scale at at Target to weigh yourself, and there's independent certification of weights and measures. Not tonight, but if at some point we could just show people that, it would be better than just saying, well, they told us it was accurate. That's all.
Well, we did get a standardized measure point and everything like that. I think we've gone quite a ways, and the option 3, which is what we're going to be voting on, still makes it available for the family to go to the Grantwood AEA, and if for some reason they do see that there's an issue in their favor with mileage, then they'll get the transportation.
Yeah,
So,
and Craig informed me that the maps themselves are taken from the county maps, which I assume is a perfectly good source, and I wouldn't question that as a source. But I just wonder if the thing, whether it's our system or their system, that's measuring those numbers between points is got some backup other than just, the vendor.
well, like I say, I think we've taken tremendous strides to help to alleviate any confusion and things like that. So
I think it's down to very specific GPS coordinates, right? I mean, that's down to the
right,
which depending what software you're using could vary, but.
I was wondering, Craig, would it be possible to get this information that you sent us in an email about how you measure the transportation with the county maps and all that? Could you put that on the website so that the public is aware of how that decision is made? Because one thing that I felt in reading the appeals was that the families were saying, I have no idea how you came up with this. Mm-hmm. And if this were transparent and available for people to see, I feel like they might have a better understanding of, oh, okay, now I get it. This is where they came from, instead of just feeling like we're just out to get them.
Yeah, just off the top of my head, may I suggest that we just include this as a part of our overall comprehensive transportation handbook that we make available, that has all of our guidelines in there, from pay to ride to all the other metrics we use for student transportation and picking up and dropping off. It would probably be a natural extension of that, and it might be the best place to put it.
I think that'd be great. Is that available on the website?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Craig. Further discussion?
Just to be clear, the motion covers both appeals?
Say again.
The motion on the table covers both of these appeals? Or are we
Yes.
doing them one at a time?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, Kim, we're ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Kim. Next item on the agenda is retreat. Kristen, do you mind bringing up, or Steve, bringing up the board goals? This is just a quick report out on our retreat, and there's a link in the package to the actual retreat if you want to get into more details on the agenda or the minutes. But we did have a board retreat the last Sunday in August. We spent most of our time on board goals, which Kristen's bringing up. And just to highlight a few of them. So over the next year, first goal is to support the strategic plan. Second goal is to continue to support the equity plan. Third goal is to support special education, to resolve our opportunities and challenges. The fourth is to transform the learning environment and pass the GO bond. And the fifth is to extend and review the facilities master plan. So there's also actions associated with that. We talked a few of them tonight. In terms of extending review on the facilities master plan, GO bond, we have equity on the plan tonight. And one thing we're going to do as we go forward is try to better link all of our board agendas to the district goals. So now I do want to separate these. If you go on the strategic plan, the district goals are improve reading, math, improve educational opportunities. This is our goals, what we want to work on over the next week or next year. So again, driving strategic plan, equity plan, special ed, pass the bond, and extend the facilities master plan. So we spent most of our time on this. If you're interested to go take a look at those details.
Can I add that if you now check the board docs, the colorful links also help link back to the actual strategic plan goals and board goals, or just the strategic plan? Which one is it?
No, all the goals are broken out in there, so if you click through to it, it'll actually take you right to that page.
Right. So for public's sake, when they see that they can actually figure out what that is and why we're voting on that and connect it back, because we're trying to stay clear about where it is that we're going. So that was important that we added that.
Kristen, you mind bringing up committees? Just quickly, we discussed committees and kind of did a start, stop, continue approach, and we agreed to continue the education committee. We'll be talking that in agenda setting tonight. That'll continue to be the full board. We'll continue policy and governance, and right now we got Brian, Chris, and Paul on that. We're going to stop advocacy engagement and move that to board work sessions. We're going to continue operations on a 2-month cycle, and that'll be the Chris's and Phil. Financial oversight, Phil's going to chair that committee and basically be on every audit cycle, and then the second, we'll have another board member cycle throughout the year like we've been doing. And then we're going to start basically via work sessions working the GO bonds. That's what we discussed. So basically stopping one committee and basically moving it to work sessions. So. All right, we discussed board meetings, trying to keep more focused, and Latasha just brought up some of this, making sure we're focused on our top priorities, and ideally shorter, so quick, concise meetings, and we've had some good meetings through the summer that have been very quick and concise. I just wanted to say publicly for administration, we talked about, presentation expectations, and certainly sometimes we get reports or presentations that are very, very detailed. We'd like those in the board packet when the board packet gets released, but when we do the presentation, kind of an executive overview with maybe 2 or 3 slides will be what we're looking for, and everybody can read the presentation. And it'd really be the highlights of what the top takeaways are, what the actions, or if there's any help required from us. We also discussed we don't need all of them in here, so Steve can work that with his team, and people are here as appropriate, which requires us to be proactive on our topics and questions and whatever else, so that Steve knows what who should be here. So that should help save some time and effort and put the time and effort back into education and student learning. We talked a number of board norms and a number of great conversations there, but that was it in the summary. Anything to add? Really just wanted to report out on that meeting since we did it. All right, with that, next item on the agenda is liaison reports, and there's a written update for each director in the packet. And if you're interested in that, go check it out. And again, this is one of the ways we're speeding up the meetings is we'll have written updates, but we're not going to go around the table and talk each one of them. All right? With that,
I would just like to be clear, I'm not sure, Director Hemingway, if you felt the food was good, but I certainly felt the food was good at the Latino Festival, since I put that we had good conversations and good food.
Yes, and there is photos have been uploaded on that too. So yeah, it was a great event.
Since we had different items to eat.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Looks like a nice day. All right, with that, moving into teaching and learning. Next item on the agenda is the Department of Education Special Accreditation Report, Culture and Climate.
We're going to follow your lead on the report, so you'll see that attached to that item on the board agenda, there is a very brief PowerPoint, 3 key slides in there. And also for reference, you have the resume of the implementation advisor and a copy of the current status of the corrective action plan that's been worked out with the AEA. So I know that that's been uploaded and you've had an opportunity to see it, and I'll just have Carmen drop down to the 3rd slide on there, and we'll simply ask at this point in time if you have questions on that and try to answer those first.
Is there since we're going to questions, I guess, our implementation advisor, is there a way for the public to get in communication with her directly?
She'll be on board September 21st, so she'll be at our first meeting here, and that's certainly something we can ask her. One of the things that the AEA reminded us is that she's a Department of Ed employee. She does not work for us, nor does she work for the AEA, so that'll be something that we can ask her.
Okay.
And along those lines, I was wondering, is she going to be here on campus like a certain amount of time? Or, I mean, she has great addresses. I'm jealous that she gets to go to Florida in the winter, but is she only coming in for like check-ins, or what's the schedule for that?
I think we'll find that out on September 21st at the all-day training at Grantwood AEA. Well, it actually is going to be at the Kirkwood Regional Center, but as far as the timeline and how often she'll be here. But she will be accessible through social media and phone as needed.
Yeah, it's a challenge, given she doesn't onboard until September 21st. I know we have a number of questions, and we want to figure out how we correspond with each other, what's the interactions, and you've got that list of questions.
And while I won't have Carmen pull it up right now, definitely I would recommend you take a look at the corrective action plan and the completion on it to date. Although it has taken us some time working with the Department of Ed in cooperation with the AEA to get an implementation advisor on the team. The Department of Ed was very gracious and generous and assigned a liaison from their office, and using her expertise and in collaboration with the AEA, we were able to begin completing progress on the items that were cited, and you'll see check marks in that left-hand column there as you move through that report for things that have already been done. So we'll be following up on those with the implementation advisor when she arrives to ensure that she and the Department of Ed are satisfied with the progress in those areas, and then we'll be working with them to complete the following, the areas that are not in that done column yet. And our goal then is to report back to you monthly. I know in your previous slide from our discussion at the board retreat, you talked about quarterly. We'd like to bring this back to you monthly just so you can see this chart in particular and the progress that we're making on that. And if you have questions, we're hoping that we'll be able to recalibrate quicker rather than coming back once every 3 months.
Is there anything you need from us?
Not at this time.
We've talked it quite a bit here lately, but so we plan to put this back on the agenda in October.
Yes, we will.
Yep.
Now, will she be, excuse me, sorry, Chris,
Yep.
did I step on you?
Cool.
Oh, okay. Will she be dealing with investigations in the retaliatory culture as well?
She'll be just providing advice to us as we work with the ICEA on the external advisor. One of the things that we've been working on, I think Brady might, he's still back there. We've been working on that here for the past couple of weeks. Worked with the ISEA initially to have them recommend an advisor for us. We had a mutual selection completed. We were unable to close the deal with that reviewer, and so we found another one. We're meeting with that gentleman next Monday. We hope to close that, and our goal is to have that completed by the end of October. So what we'll be able to do with Beth after she comes on board is share with her the process. We've talked to the ICEA about actually drafting the scope of it, that is who would be interviewed, when they would be interviewed, the questions that would be asked. We want to make sure that the ICEA is very heavily involved in that. The ISEA has been very cooperative with us on that from a state level. And then we can run that by Beth and see if she's got any suggestions to improve that process after we've gone through that. So we're going to try to get that done before she gets here and be ready to go when she's on board so that she can give us the green light on that. We can get going.
And the meeting on September 21st at the Regional Center, what time?
It's from 9 to 3.
9 to 3, okay.
All right, any further questions on this topic? All right, thanks, Stephen Carmen. Next item on the agenda is Appendix 9. Dwayne?
Tricon
that won't be paid until we accept the project and stuff yet. So this is just substantial completion. The Hoover Eats, we have a change request for $1,030.55. We made some changes in the brick color, changed the door on the elevator, and there's some significant changes made to the grease trap, which is the required device to catch the grease before it gets into the city sanitary sewer. And West High Locker Room, we asked the contractor for a change request for $5,020.95. And we asked the contractor to rework the flush valve, which needed more appropriate than replacing it. We had some sealing work and we added some additional. That I would answer any questions you might have.
On the West High one that you just spoke about with the additional acoustical ceiling work, is that related to the flush valve work or is that to any roof issues that?
No, I think they're totally unrelated. It's probably due to leaking pipes that we replaced.
So Dwayne, no questions, but a comment. My favorite question for the principals post a big project is, were you happy with the handoff from, construction to operation of the school? And are you happy with the punch list? And, Principal Gannon was just very, very happy with everything that was done. So he just gave you and the whole team a lot of positive feedback. So that's always my last question. Are you happy with the handoff? And is a punch list where you want it? And he was just very appreciative. So
I was impressed with the turnout that night. I mean, they were clear out to the street and wrapped around the building, and it was like 25 minutes, and there were still people coming in. So it was pretty nice. And, I think a lot of the credit goes to the principal because it's not easy living on a construction site. It's not easy for the students or the staff or the principal or the contractors. But in the end, that one went fairly smooth, and I think we got a good product.
And I'll attest to that as a parent, where no student was moved out of the school, like relocated to a different school. Every student was served well the entire year. I thought it was great.
Yeah,
I'm very happy with the
They
product.
seem to like the 10-plex because it's air conditioned.
We
right
love
away.
the castle.
all right, entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the Appendix 9 items as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? Kim, we're ready to vote.
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
All right, items withdrawn from consent. 6, I assume we can go to a motion. Lori, entertain a motion to approve 6.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, we're good. No.
That would be weird, you're right.
Any discussion? Kim, we're ready to vote.
Can I ask again who was the motion and the second? I'm sorry.
Latasha was the motion, I was the second.
Thank you. Online voting is open.
Oh my God.
Slow.
It's like I'm missing something.
All votes have been cast and the motion carries with directors Liebig, Deloach, Hemingway, Kirschling, and Lynch voting yea, and directors Rotland and Ressler abstaining.
Thanks, Kim. Next item is 19, Phil.
Yes, the roof access ladders for 16, 17. I relayed a message to Dwayne through Kim concerning competitive bidding on it, and to date I hadn't got a response, so I hadn't checked my emails later to see if something came in.
It was late this afternoon, but I did respond, but I can answer your question. First of all, can I clarify the difference between a bid and a quote? Would that be acceptable? The Iowa Code in section, is that better? The Iowa Code, section 26, paragraph 14, I used to have it memorized, but it states that projects that are $135,000 and over have to be subject to the Iowa competitive bid law. Projects that are from $75,000 to $135,000 require what we call competitive quotes. And what that requires is that you, in good faith, seek two quotes for that project. that, from contractors that do that kind of work. That's that specific in the code. In this particular case, the estimate was far below the 75. It was not required for quotes, but we did solicit quotes. We actually sent plans and specs to four contractors. We only received one. So it's pretty hard, you can lead them to the water, but you can't make them drink.
Right.
And a lot of contractors are busy right now. So the short answer is yes. And the second answer is we exceed what's required of us when we go out and get quotes, because we do the competitive quote process.
Excellent. Thank you. Is it possible just in the future that could be added to it, that, you did solicit?
Sure.
For, and only one responded, that would, also show to the public that you're going above and beyond?
Yeah, no problem.
Do you entertain a motion?
Yeah, I entertain a motion to approve Appendix 19, roof ladder access.
Consent item 19, just clarify.
Yes, consent item, excuse me.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Kim, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. You got nothing?
Not yet.
I'm gonna close it and open it again.
There we go.
All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
All right, next is agenda setting, and just before we get to the board meeting, so we got a closed session before the board meeting on the 27th. I think after the meeting, we're going to plan an exempt session. Just checking to make sure that's right. And then, so for the agenda on the 27th, just as a reminder, it's our annual organization meeting. So basically, Section D is a very standard section, most of it required by law or something we've done in the past in terms of an annual renewal. I think from an agenda standpoint, we're going to move the superintendent contract out to the first meeting in October, at least for now. Okay. Is there other input?
I don't see voluntary transfer listed here, but maybe I'm missing it.
No, you're probably right. Why don't we add that?
I think Matt asked us to have an answer to him by the end of September on that,
So we'll add voluntary transfer.
I'm assuming.
So at least a placeholder. Yeah.
I'm wondering if, last time we heard a good, nice, what is it called, open of school update or something, and, since then we've been hearing from some people about, A, transportation issues, and B, of course, the early dismissals, and maybe just a little bit of an update on that. As far as the early dismissals goes, I think everybody knows we're kind of stuck without air conditioning for a while, but, I get questions like, gee, isn't there any way to do some more ventilation or something in the short term? So there's probably an answer to that question, and it'd be helpful to maybe hear some of that stuff. So maybe a part 2 of the back-to-school update? Would that be?
And I'll put that on there. It would help if you would send me specific items that you're
Sure.
interested
For example, I'm thinking about things, we've a lot of traffic at Garner, so that would be one of them.
Can I ask a question?
Maybe it was Van Allen, sorry.
And I'm not sure, Steve, if this is, I'm not assuming this is going to be on the next agenda, but maybe somewhere down the line. Because it's still in my head about, regardless of what people think, of the hearing that we had, and I'm still concerned about annual reviews and how often is that happening for our administrators? I know our teachers have a contract where it's required to do, but is it up to date? Because I really don't want us as a district to be back in that situation that we were in where people haven't got their annual review. Because I know I'm required to have one as a county government employee. So I'm hoping that as a best practice for our district, from last time we met till now, that this is going to be more of a standard practice. I don't know what kind of report that looks like, how that's laid out, but I feel like if people are getting raises, there should be a review process that's done before you get your dollars. And so I really don't know how that's set up, what that looks like, but that's really important to me. And I think for our community also to know that we're using best practice as well as we're on top of that.
Could we put that on our next work session? Would that be
Sure.
okay?
I just think it's important that
No, I
we
think
have
it's,
some discussion
I think
about
it's a
it.
great topic.
And as well as the timeline for the, when we'll get the assessment back about the culture. Because regardless of what people think, those, to me, like I said, I'm not saying we nothing, but that's important to me to know about how we're doing on that, how we're going to address it, because we do want this to be the best place in town for people to work, and the best place for our kids to get educated. And so those are important to me, and I don't know how to incorporate that, but if it's the work session, that's fine, but I would really like to hear more about that.
Because I'd like to talk affordable housing too, just follow up from our affordable housing meetings, but I think that's best in work session for the first time.
Is there some chance we're going to need a work session,
Yeah, I
after
think
our next meeting?
the first meeting in October would be the next one.
You don't think we might need one before then? I mean, what if we don't finish our voluntary transfer discussion tonight? Is there some chance we might need that second work session between now and then?
Maybe. We
can always do that after the work session, though. All right.
Just, we're already booked before and after our next meeting,
I
so
know, that's a problem.
that's the challenge, but. Okay, anything else on the 27th?
This isn't for the 27th, but this is just an FYI for the rest of the board, because with open meetings, I can't say this to you except in an open forum, but there have been some transportation difficulties at Coralville Central and possibly elsewhere as a result of the discretionary bus cut. And so I had asked to have that, a report done on that, and so that is going to be ready for the first meeting in October.
Oh, okay. Well, that might cover some of what I was hoping to hear about in the back-to-school update.
And just to be specific, the issue is not the coming and going of students, it's students that need busing because of socioeconomic barriers that do not have busing.
Okay.
And moved into the district.
Send us your questions and we can compare whether it's covered, because there's going to be, between now and then, the Transportation Committee's going to meet and they'll come back and report out, so it may or may not get to your questions, but.
I just bring that up because I can't say it unless we're in an open forum, so.
Okay, committees, there's proposed schedule for the Education Committee in the packet. It's still the third Thursday, basically one every other month. There's.
Tuesday.
What did I say, Thursday?
Thursday.
Third Tuesday of the month. So if that looks okay, we'll plan the next one for October 18th.
What's the idea about what time those would be?
Yeah, well, we'd probably, I mean, the base plan was to stick with 4:30, but if we want to change that, we'll.
Starting to have a little problem with 4:30 because of the picking up some kids, get out at 4 now, so we could talk about it though in work session.
Or we'll get a draft agenda out and we can talk the timing. So if those dates are okay, we'll start to gear towards that and then we can talk agenda. We did think one proposal was perhaps start at Kirkwood again because we did get, there's been substantial increase there and I know we want to talk curriculum
Yep.
For regional center. So that might be our two topics, get an update from Kirkwood on our students' attendance there and then talk curriculum. Operations, I think there's again a proposal, and given we just booked a meeting on the back end of September, I propose we start that in October, and then we just follow the rest of the schedule. I don't know if there's a proposed first date for P&G or.
Not yet. We kind of need to compare calendars here and check with Steve and see when administration is available as well, and so on and so forth. But that is coming soon.
All right, sounds good. Anything else on agenda setting? With that,
Have we formally sort of figured out who's on which committee? I thought we were still hashing that out a little bit.
well, I think we're past that topic.
But I mean, as far as a future agenda, that's not on tonight's work session agenda, is it?
We covered it at the retreat part.
Yeah, but I thought we were still sort of, because I'm still listed on two of those committees.
Chris, it's on the next meeting
Okay.
It's on the next meeting under the organizational NOA.
All right, so we got some time to.
So it's on the agenda, I guess, as I think about it. But yeah, I mean, yeah.
Because they're also not just the board committees, but there are the other committees. We didn't really get into those.
Right.
I'm having a little trouble with my insurance committee because of my schedule now. So.
Right. And I think that one's on the organizational. Yeah. 'Cause I know that the IASB delegate is on there too. So.
All right.
All right, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Work session will take place at the